girls, grab your beers.
Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Anthrax, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
This is Mark Metcalf, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio.
You are listening to today's Boondoggle with Bailey on Domain Cleveland Radio. Yes, Kato Kalin listens to this all the time.
Welcome to today's Boondoggle. Now here's your host.
I am Monty Heath, SL1 Heath, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle.
Hey, what's up? It's John from Skillet, and you are listening to today's Boondoggle on Domain Cleveland Radio.
Fasten your seatbelts.
What's going on, everybody? It's Bill Bailey with today's Boondoggle. And a real quick housekeeping note, if you're watching us on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, or Odyssey, please hit that follow and subscribe button. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple, Google, whatever podcast platform you utilize, hit that follow and subscribe button too. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, all your socials. So hit us up. So I can continue to bring you conversations like the one I'm bringing you today, talking with Brett from, many bands, but we're currently going to be talking about World Fire Brigade. So how you doing, Brett?
I'm doing great, man. How you doing?
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure. And I definitely want to touch on your career, but usually when I have people on for the first time, I want to get a quick background. You remember originally what you wanted to be when you grew up?
You know, I always pointed towards music, and when I was a little kid, man, I grew up outside of Memphis, Tennessee, and Elvis was a huge influence in the area, you know, and so I would listen to Elvis records, and I'd get up on the hearth, and that was my stage, and I would sing and dance and act like Elvis, and I would entertain my parents and for the night. So, I was always music for me, man.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny. Me and my girlfriend just watched that Priscilla movie over the weekend and stuff, you know?
I haven't seen it yet. Yeah. Looking forward to it for sure.
Yeah. Definitely a different side of Elvis, but
yeah,
you know, it was a pretty good movie though. But yeah, I grew up, my mom, big Elvis fan and stuff too. So
right.
Had a lot of Elvis in the house. But then, I know Elvis was like kind of the influence to perform and entertain, you know, the family and stuff. But, you know, when was it that you actually started getting serious about getting together with others and playing in bands?
When I was like 18, 19 years old, you know, just finishing high school, getting ready for college and stuff, I met up with some friends, and, you know, they had a little bit of a band thing going on, and they invited me to come in. And that was my first taste of playing, you know, actually playing with people, you know, and understanding how to work together that way. And, we played like a couple of little, dive bars in the middle of nowhere in Tennessee, and nobody was there, of course, but we didn't care. It was the point of being on a stage and playing and stuff, and that was my first real taste of all of that. And, you know, and then as I grew older, I moved to a little town called Jackson, Tennessee, and started playing with guys there in the bars there, and playing mostly like acoustic shows and things like that. And, you know, we really started growing a following there. And, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, the places would just be packed, you know? So that's kind of where I cut my teeth. And around 92 or 93, I met up with Jeff Abercrombie, who is the original bass player of Fuel. And they had a thing. He had a thing called Reel to Reel, which was a cover band, and they were playing They were playing Marriott's and Adams Mark hotels and things like that. And they invited me to come in and play in their cover band. And, our initial idea though was to sway away from being a cover band and move into being an original band, so we immediately started working on songs. And a few years later, we decided to name the band Fuel, and it all kind of snowballed from there. So
nice. And you were saying, like, originally when you were cutting your teeth with the before going to college, what was the music scene like, at your hometown compared to then moving to?
I mean, we were playing covers and stuff at that time, and we were playing, the hits of the time, we were playing, Van Halen, David Lee Roth, and playing Night Ranger and stuff like that, and at that point, Seattle was starting to break, so we were getting excited about things like Pearl Jam and things like that. So, the local scene didn't really exist all that much. So, like I said, I grew up in a small little town called Brownsville, and there wasn't really much going on there regarding other bands and things like that. So, for us to start playing in that area was, we thought, hey, maybe we can take this little tiny town over and expand from there. But, ultimately I ended up leaving there and going to Jackson, and the music scene was a little more, had more things going on for sure there. And there were more places to play. It was a larger town. So that's kind of where I got going.
So as you shared, you got into with Fuel. What was, as you guys were building your name in that area, were there any other bands coming up with you there? Or?
None that anyone would really know, One thing, it was like there was a lot of cover band stuff going on. People, at times tend to have a difficulty absorbing original bands, so you've got to play the covers and stuff like that to get the people in the room, So, there were just a few local cover bands and stuff, and we'd all kind of play together from time to time. So, but nothing that ever really came out of there that was big.
And as you guys transition to being more of an original act with Fuel, like what was some of the things you guys did to get the name out there back then, and get out on the road?
Man, well, we were a working band, fully functioning working band, and we were playing 5-6 nights a week. And we ultimately ended up moving to Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, and because we had already kind of saw that we could build a following there, and so we became a house band at the Marriott Hotel there, and we would play there 5-6 nights a week and make our paycheck, and then on our off days and things like that, we would focus on working on songs, and we would invest money into buying our own recording equipment and things like that, because we couldn't really afford to go into a studio that cost $1,000 a day, so we would just take that money and invest it in recording gear, and we would do it in our homes, and I'd be sitting in a closet singing vocal tracks and things like that. So we did everything that we could to kind of push ourselves towards the finish line.
Yeah. So then where did was Shimmer recorded in a closet, or
Shimmer was like recorded. I probably did my vocal tracks in a closet for sure, and my mom worked at a bank in my hometown, and the bank was nice enough to give us a space to work in for a few weeks or whatever, you know. So we went in there and we rehearsed and we set up our recording equipment and we recorded as much as we could. And we would our drummer would lay down drum tracks. He was using a digital drum kit at the time, so we could plug direct in and not have to deal with microphones and stuff. So, which made it easier. So, but we would just kind of record anywhere we possibly could. There were times too that we would bring our recording equipment into venues, and during sound checks, we would lay down drum tracks and things like that, and, you know, and just try to record from the venue before the doors open. So
nice. And I mean, Shimmer being, you know, a song that's, you know, I still today, you know, I get the feels when I listen to it. Talk about the inspiration writing that.
You know, that's a song that you know, did really well for us, you know, and our original guitar player Carl, he actually wrote that song, and you know, it just kind of, we knew we had something when the song came to be. You know, it was a matter of you know, us capturing it properly, you know, and in our early demos of that, we got it down pretty good, you know, and we did a demo called Porcelain. We released it, and we were playing venues in the Harrisburg area there, and we were selling our CDs at the venues and things like that. And we sold like 5,000 copies. You know, we weren't even signed to anything yet. And, you know, and I reached out to the local radio stations and sent them the CDs and everything, and hand wrote letters for them and everything like that. And you know, and surprisingly enough, they actually opened up the envelopes and took a listen and liked what they heard. So they started spinning the song, and nice. You know, next thing you know, we had a #1 song regionally there, and we weren't even on a record label or anything yet. So it all had Shimmer definitely is the song that kind of pushed us in the direction of where we became and getting signed and things like that. So did well for us. Nice.
And another one that you know, I was actually on my way back from breakfast with my girlfriend earlier, getting ready for today, and I was listening to Hemorrhage in My Hands, man, and butchering it in the car like I used to at karaoke nights, because I don't have your power and range, man. But talk a little bit about that song.
Man, when we got off the tour for the Sunburn album, you know, we toured relentlessly for 2 years straight on that record. And then we got off that tour and we took a couple of weeks off, and then we rented a house up in the Pocono Mountains. And, you know, it was in the middle of winter. There was like 2 or 3 feet of snow on the ground. So there was nothing to do but just sit in that house and focus on the next record. So we set up everything in the basement of the house, and, you know, we had a batch of songs and everything, and we were working through those. And then Carl and I sat down, and Carl had this song idea. And so we sat in there, and he and I started kind of fleshing through the details of the song, and you know, recorded a demo version of it, and we sent it into the record label, and they just were ecstatic. They knew, okay, we've got it now. And they, you know, leading up to that point, we had a batch of songs that we felt good about, but we didn't have that one song that the label was just like, oh my God. And then when Carl and I sat down and recorded a demo version of Hemorrhage and sent that in, that's when they were just like, okay, now we know what we're doing. So, and everybody really got excited, and it was time to get it all recorded properly from that point.
Yeah, it takes you on an emotional roller coaster for sure, man. Definitely.
Yeah,
feel the power behind that one. I love it.
Yeah, big song for us, man. You know, and we captured it right. You know, we had Ben Gross with us in the studio making that record, and you know, we had a good idea of how we wanted the song to come out. You know, but Ben definitely helped us, you know, connect all the dots. So
Nice. And then, I want to talk a little bit about some of your other projects. Like, I want to hear, tell me about how Circus Diablo came together.
My buddy Billy Morrison, who was the singer on that project, he reached out to me because I had another thing I was doing in New York called the X's, and it was a New York City punk rock type band, and and I was playing bass in it and just having a lot of fun. I was freshly out of Fuel. At that point I left Fuel, and I was living in New York, and I was playing in the band the X's. And my buddy Billy Morrison was out at a show one night, and he was like, my God, he fell in love with how I played bass. And he and I have been friends since late 90s, And so he asked me if I would do Circus Diablo with him and Billy Duffy from the Cult, and Matt Sorum played drums on that, and Ricky Warwick from a band called The Almighty. And so I was like, absolutely, love to do it, So I jumped in on that, and the rest was history on that. We're actually in the process now of writing a second Circus Diablo record. So right now we're about 6 or 7 songs in. So, and it's coming out great. So we're excited.
Oh, nice. And I want to obviously get to, so this project's been around for a while, from what I understand. The World Fire Brigade. Talk about how that first came together for you.
Sean Danielsen from the band Smile Empty Soul. Sean and I have been friends for a long time and done lots of touring together. Smile Empty Soul used to open up for Fuel back in the day, and Eddie Wall, who is our other writing partner on that project. Eddie and I have done numerous things together. So Eddie kind of mentioned one day, is like, hey, why don't we write a record with Sean Danielsen? And, originally we thought, we're going to write a great body of songs, and we're going to give it to another artist and let them do it, but as we progressed with the writing and everything, we thought to ourselves, this is just too good to give to someone else. So let's just go ahead and do it ourselves. So we started recording the record, and we brought Ken Schalk in to do the drum tracks, and he did an amazing job. And it's funny because we still hadn't named the project yet, and I had to fly out and do some Fuel dates somewhere. But I came home, and I came in at like 3 a.m. and crawled into bed, and I was laying there, and then I suddenly just woke up and went World Fire Brigade, and that's how I came up with the name of the band. And so I immediately jumped up and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget it. And then next day I reached out to the guys and threw that name at them, and they both were just like, yes, let's do it. So, but anyway, we recorded that album and everything. And, when we did this deal with this new indie label called Frostbite, and we did the deal with them. And then like literally a month or so later, the label folded. And we were like, why wouldn't you tell us that you guys were in financial straits and that you're about to go out of business, and why would you let us sign a deal like this? And and
that's exactly why they went out of business.
yeah. So so unfortunately we got stuck in that deal, and we were like, God, it just kind of tanked the record. So here we are years later now, and we're working with the label group, which is Virgin Records, and we told our guy Denny over there, we were like, hey, we've got this World Fire Brigade record. It never really got a shot. And so we sent it to him, and he's like, dude, I love this. I want to re-release this. So that's kind of what we're doing now, because that first time it didn't really come out of the gate the way we had hoped. So, and a lot of people heard it. The ones that did hear it just fell in love with it. So we thought, let's find some more people like that. So we're re-releasing everything and getting the steam going back up for that one. So
yeah, definitely excited about that. I'm always curious about band names too, and but I don't think I've heard the 3 a.m. I'm just laying in bed, and then all of a sudden World Fire Brigade pops in. Yeah, that must be implanted or something,
Yeah, it was like a lightning bolt. I don't know how it happened. I just, my brain was moving, and that's what came out of it. So,
And it's cool that, you've been working with Sean. I had him on the podcast like earlier this year and stuff. And I got like such mad respect for him for, speaking his truth and just standing up for his beliefs, during that rough period and chapter in our country, and just speaking his truth about freedom. We had a good conversation about that. But like, so you guys kind of became friends on the road, just touring together originally, or?
Yeah, we were just buddies, man. When you live on the road together and you're following each other in buses from town to town, you create a certain bond out there, and we just really connected really well. And he's such a sweetheart of a guy, man, and he's so talented. And writing that record with him was just incredible because the ideas that he would come up with are just so great, and he came up with so many amazing guitar riffs in those songs, and it was fun. I think it was fun for Sean and I both because we were splitting the vocal duties, it's like versus one of us just having to be responsible for doing all of that, so it was fun for Sean and Eddie and I to sit down and work together on lyrics, work together on melodies, work together on who's doing what and things like that. And it was just really a lot of fun to do that.
Well, good. Two great sets of pipes right there, man. I still jam about bottom of a bottle, and just
right.
when you guys feel that passion, man, feel that energy.
Yeah. We were touring together when that song was first coming out, so I think that they were on Bottom of the Bottle, and I think we may have been still on the Sunburn album at the time, late 90s, early 2000s. Maybe we were on Hemorrhage. I don't really remember. Somewhere in there, that timeline.
Nice. And then you'd also, mentioned you've worked with Eddie, but how did you originally meet up with or connect with Eddie?
That's funny because Eddie and I met back at a place called Longview Farm Studios. It's where we did the Sunburn album, and he had a band at the time that came in, and they were working in one of the other rooms, and Eddie and I briefly met during that time period, and then we didn't see each other for years. And then Eddie ended up working with my wife's band. My wife is Abby Jeanette, and she had a band called SLUNT. SLUNT, and just a New York punk rock band, man, really cool stuff. And Eddie produced their first album, and while they were making that record, Abby and I were dating, and so I'd come up to the studio there and hang out and listen to what they were doing and just kind of be the fly on the wall in the back of the room and things like that. So Eddie and I hit it off again as friends, and now we're both living out here in LA, and we reconnected once we moved out here, and then he and I just started doing lots and lots of work together. He worked with me on the Fuel Puppet Strings album. We've done tons of TV spots together. We also did the World Fire Brigade record together, and recently also we did a project called Radiobot, which the music for Radiobot is now featured in the new Orange County Chopper show that's going to be coming out next year. So,
oh, nice. Then, going back to World Fire Brigade, the latest single, "Shot Down Again." Talk about like the message or whatever in that song.
That whole record is a really dark record, and there's a lot of frustration in the song, in the lyrics, and I think that for that song in particular, it's the frustration of relationship struggles, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship or what it is, but there's the struggles of not seeing eye to eye, betrayal, things like that, and like I said, that whole record, we weren't writing any songs about puppies and rainbows on that record. You know, we were writing about strife and conflict and just frustrations of whatever, you know. So,
and this was obviously, you know, a little harder edged from what you were playing with Fuel, but what was the timeline of life, like events that were going on that maybe were contributing to that kind of writing?
I don't know. That's a good question. You know, I think that I don't know that we were necessarily focused on current events or anything like that while we were making that record. You know, we were, you know, I was doing Fuel at the time. I had redone Fuel, and, you know, so I was doing a lot of touring with that, and it's very tiresome at times, you know, and Sean was doing Smile Empty Soul, and then we'd get back together and continue to write on World Fire Brigade whenever we could. But, you know, I don't think that we were looking at anything in our lives or in current events that influenced the lyrical writing of anything. I think we were just trying to write the songs and let the songs write themselves at times too, you know. So
gotcha. Yeah, I mean, I just know that, you know, I've talked to so many people that, you know, when we were during the lockdowns and stuff, and, you know, how much that time period inspired a lot of their writing and stuff. But I mean, this has been a project that's been, you know, kind of there throughout your other projects for many years now.
Yeah, of course. And Radiobot was actually a project that we wrote the bulk of the catalog during COVID. You know, we wrote, that's myself and Eddie Wall and a guy named Billy Harvey. And the three of us, you know, we wrote like 3 or 4 songs somewhere around 2018. And then we kind of separated and when you know, I went back to doing Fuel stuff, and Billy was doing his thing, Eddie was doing his thing. And then COVID happened, and we were like, man, well, what do we do now? You know, and we all just kind of went, why don't we try this Radiobot thing some more, and let's get together and write some more songs. So at the time we had like 3 or 4 songs, and then, you know, I would go to Eddie's house, and Billy was in Nashville, so we would FaceTime with him, and you know, Billy would throw a guitar riff out, and we would be like, record that and send it to us. So he would do that. He'd send it over to us, and we'd put it in a session, and we just start kind of writing the songs like that. And then I would take it back to my home studio, and I would do the drums and everything, and just start layering stuff. And it was what was going to come back, you know. I'd send it to them, and they'd be like, "Oh, I didn't envision it going like that, but that sounds great." So, and then Billy would start layering stuff down, and then he'd send it to us, and, you know, we were constantly getting little Christmas presents back and forth from each other. So
nice. And then you know, you were talking about, you know, just, you know, how there was like a heaviness in a lot of this album, a lot of darkness or whatever. But what was
World Fire Brigade stuff, right?
Yeah. What was the song "Weight of the World" inspired by?
It's one of my favorite songs. Yeah, that's one of my, well, it's definitely the struggle of having a lot of pressure on you, you know. I don't think it's not a political song or anything like that. But it's definitely about having the struggles of carrying a lot of burden, a lot of responsibility, and wanting to get through it and succeed and be able to carry through it. You know, when you have the weight of the world on you, it's a tough struggle. So
yeah, so it was kind of your therapy to kind of put pen to paper to get it some of that out during that time, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's what lyrical songwriting is about. About saying things that you can't normally say sometimes, I guess. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I feel that one too, and I, listening to it, just being, you're a father, I mean, speaking for myself, just, the everyday pressures of life, it's just like, we got to be the captains of the ship, so to speak,
Absolutely.
and,
Absolutely.
I've been learning a lot in my relationship, with my girlfriend to talk less and listen more,
Good advice.
Yeah. I mean, I don't always get it right, but it's just like, because it's like I'm a fixer and I want to plan the attack and let's fix this. And they don't know, I realize that don't always work. They don't want to hear that right away. They just want me to shut up and listen. So
right. Sometimes you just got to be a shoulder.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and carry that weight,
Carry the weight. That's right.
And then another song that I enjoyed, you guys worked with Rob Caggiano on Take Me Away.
Right.
Big fan of his work. How did you guys get together with Rob?
Well, Eddie and Rob have known each other for decades, and they've worked together on numerous projects and own a production company together and produced records together, worked with Anthrax and things like that, and of course, Rob has his history with Anthrax. So, we had a couple of songs that we always wanted I always wanted to hear Rob on some stuff that I'd done. And so, when we had this opportunity with World Fire Brigade for Rob to contribute, man, we all just really jumped on it. So, and Rob's amazing, man. That guy can play circles around pretty much anybody. So
yeah, definitely incredible. Now you were doing all these different projects around the same timelines. What was there? What's your creative process like? Is it different for each project, or does your process remain kind of the same?
A little bit of both, really. It's like, yeah, the processes are very different from time to time. Like, for instance, with World Fire Brigade, the three of us sat in a room and went through everything together. We always mapped everything out together. We always threw ideas at each other and say that works, that doesn't work, whatever, yada yada. Whereas with the Radiobot stuff, like I was saying earlier, we were constantly working on our own at times. We would map out the song idea, and then I would take it home and I would do a bunch of stuff to it, and the rest of the guys wouldn't know what was going to come back, and then I would send all those ideas to them, and they would be like, "That's great, love it," and then they would just start adding their things to it, So those were two different writing processes for sure.
Yeah. And then, what's next now that you guys are able to re-release it and give it a bigger push? There talk about any touring?
We would love to get out and do some shows on it with either of these projects. It's got to be the right circumstances. We don't want to play for nobody. We don't want to play for an empty room. So we want to build up some steam on it and get some awareness going. And we're already talking about some show opportunities for next year, which is great and exciting. So the plan is to be able to get out and actually try to play these songs live, because we've never done that. So
yeah, definitely excited for that. Well, before we get ready to wrap up, I want to ask you some of the questions that I normally ask guests I have on, but really quick, other than, the playing out with World Fire Brigade, what other goals do you have personally going in the next year?
Oh man, I want to always continue to be creative. Like I said, we're working on the new Circus Diablo record, and we'll continue to write more music with Radiobot, and you know, we're even talking about doing the second World Fire Brigade record. So, you know, I'd love to stay busy and keep being artistic in that regard with these projects. I don't know if I'm ready to start a fourth project, but you never know. You always, for me, it's always seize opportunity. So if the right thing comes along, I'll jump on it. You know, but I keep myself busy here. I live in LA, and I also own a production company, so I keep myself busy with that too. So
nice. Well, yeah, you never know when that next lightning bolt will hit at 3 a.m. So, you know,
that's very true. You got to wake up for it. You got to wake up for it.
And then you're talking, you know, as a kid, Elvis being a huge influence, inspiration on your music. But who would you say today are your top 3 musical artists?
Oh, man. Well, you know, I've always been a Beatles fan. And I think that Paul McCartney's probably my favorite Beatle. You know, he's the songwriting that he comes up with and is just amazing. So, you know, I've always been a Beatles fan. I've always been a Van Halen man. Give me the early Van Halen records, the David Lee Roth records, any time of the week, you know. And you know, with current music, I don't know what's really hitting me these days. You know, I like bands like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs are really great. I love the punk rock flavor of those guys. And you know, I always grew up, you know, listening to a lot of punk rock, from the Sex Pistols to Suicidal Tendencies and things, and Ramones and things like that. So I like that edgier sound of things like that. So, you know, D'Antwoord is amazing. You know,
I just seen them for the first time, man. It was incredible. They played the Cleveland Agora.
Awesome.
And, yeah. I remember my friend getting me into them like years ago, and I was like, I don't know, man, this seems pretty crazy. I never thought I'd get to see them live, but I definitely glad I got to experience that.
They are so incredibly artistic, man. I just saw them recently too, a few weeks ago here in LA, and amazing show. But the songs are incredible, but their videos are incredible too. I don't know if you've ever watched their videos, but man, definitely do it. It's just so artistic and so creative and just really captivating.
Yeah, I actually started watching their documentary. I haven't finished it yet, but that was like, you know, showing that artistic, you know, their vision for sure. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I love it, man. Stuff like that really pulls me in because of the art factor of all of it. It's just sucks you in. So
yeah, for sure. And then I always enjoy asking this question. What class do you feel should be mandatory before graduating high school today?
What class should be mandatory?
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to exist yet either.
Well, I mean, math is the top one for me, for sure. You need to, you know, one thing I always tell my kids, I said, you know, going through school, always pay attention during math because you need it. You're going to need to know your math, you know, because that's one of the things you're going to need the most. And economics too, just knowing how to deal with money, finances. It's also important. They got to understand the value of the dollar and understand how you get it and how you keep it, you know?
Yeah. That's the number one answer I always get, man. That and taxes, you know?
Yeah.
It's like,
right.
You know, it's like, yeah, I mean, but to get these kids ready for the world, man, it's like, it's not a magic card that's like refillable and stuff.
No.
You know?
Well, you know, there's the old saying, money can't buy happiness, but it can make it a hell of a lot easier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And then who are 3 people who've inspired you and you can credit for making you the person you are today?
Oh, wow. Oh, man. Tough questions there. You know, well, you know, my wife is the foundation of our family for sure. And she makes me a stronger man for sure. So I'd put her in there somewhere. She definitely has molded me to be who I am, be the man that I am. My dad was amazing too, you know, and God rest his soul. He passed away a few years back, but I was telling you earlier about his service in the Navy, and, you know, and he was, you know, I was telling you, he was around during the Cuban Missile Crisis, and he was doing communications and sending all the information back, so they knew what was going on with the Russians there. So, and he was an amazing father, though, and he definitely molded me into who I am. The third one, that's I don't know. I'm not sure. I'd have to think about it a little more, I guess.
Yeah, the third one's usually the toughest because you don't want to leave somebody out, you know. But
Right.
so many of them, but those top two are good, man.
Yeah, man.
And then I love asking this one. Goes back, take you back down memory lane. But favorite toy as a child?
Favorite toy as a child? You know, I was huge into skateboarding and BMX and things like that. So I think my skateboard was one of my favorites for sure. You know,
nice.
That and maybe Stretch Armstrong, you know, that guy.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I remember him. Yeah. Usually I get like Evel Knievel, you know.
Yeah.
Like
Evel Knievel was amazing. I had the wind up dirt bike thing, you know.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. And then, any message you have for our military members that are currently serving overseas?
Stay strong, stay safe, stay diligent. And, you know, yeah, watch each other's backs and do your job as well, like you know you can. You know, that's another thing about Radiobot is we have a song called "Find Your Way Home," and it'll be featured on the Orange County Chopper show coming up. It's going to be the main song of the show, but it's called "Find Your Way Home." And when we wrote it, you know, as we were progressing in the songwriting, I ended up writing the lyrics about our military and, you know, the struggles and the stress that they go through during deployment. But I also, you know, wrote about the families and the friends and everyone left behind at home during those times, and the struggles and the stress that go on them as well during those moments. So keep an eye out for that song, "Find Your Way Home." Yeah,
I'm definitely gonna check that out, man. Sounds like another one that'll be pulling at my heartstrings, man, because I've been there. You know,
you'll be able to relate. Absolutely.
Yeah. Man, well, Brett, man, thank you so much for your time, man. It was great talking with you, and look forward to hopefully World Fire Brigade, you know, burn its way to Cleveland at some point. You know?
Yeah, that'd be great. Absolutely.
And then before I let you go, you mind doing one last favor for me?
Yeah, what you got?
Just cut a promo ID for the show. Just introduce yourself, and you're listening to today's Boondoggle.
Let me write it down so I get everything right. Today's Boondoggle.
Yeah.
I could do that. You ready?
Yep.
What's happening? This is Brett Scallions. You've got it tuned in live and proud right here on today's Boondoggle.
Awesome. Brett, man, thank you so much, man. And then real quick too, for, you know, any of the fans that are might be new to hearing about World Fire Brigade and Radiobot and you know, I mean, maybe even new kids hearing about Fuel for the first time. Where would you send them to follow your projects?
You know, we've got all the socials available out there. You know, there's my I have an artist page on Facebook that's easy to find. Also Instagram. You know, we have World Fire Brigade pages as well as Radiobot pages, and you know, I don't do anything with Fuel anymore, so you're not going to find me over there on those socials. But please find my personal socials and jump in there and say hi to me, and we'll have some fun.
Nice. All right, Brett. Thanks again for your time, man. It was great talking with you.
Thanks so much, man. Take care of yourself. Thanks for having me.
All right. Bye-bye.
See ya.